Meeting of the Benefits and Services Committee will now come to order. Braden, will you please call the roll?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Representing the State Controller, Ms. Pegman. Here. Representing the State Superintendent of Public Instruction, Mr. Yamaha. Here. Mr. Prezant. Here. Ms. Dillon.
Here.
Ms. Hendricks.
Here.
Representing the State Treasurer, Mr. Ruffino. Present. Chairperson Yamamoto, you have a quorum.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Bear with me, everyone, okay? I'm supposed to, in beginning our meetings, as we've done traditionally for the past few meetings, the board will have a 10-minute public comment period at the end of each agenda item. Comment after each item will be limited to the agenda item topic, and there will be an additional opportunity for statements of the public for items not pertaining to the specific agenda item at the end of the open session meeting. And so individuals wishing to speak at the board meeting should complete and submit a speaker request form to the CEO or any CalSTRS staff. Each speaker is allowed a maximum of 3 minutes for his or her presentation, and if there's not enough time for speakers to have the 3 minutes, the timing will be at the discretion of the chair, and I guess that would be me. The Teachers Retirement Board meetings are live web streamed and video archived, which are available to the public on the calstrs.com website. So to protect the privacy of minors who wish to address the board, public commenters under the age of 18 may address the board, but CalSTRS will not live stream or video archive these comments. Public commenters over the age of 18 may be recorded and included in the web stream of this meeting. So members of the public may speak to the board during their allotted time, but audio or visual recordings from a third party are not allowed due to copyright issues. Okay, everybody set on that? Okay, so with that, we're going to go with the first agenda item. And the first agenda item is it's an action item for the approval of the committee agenda.
Move approval.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Any members of the public who wish to speak on item 1? Okay. Okay, we're going to go to the consent agenda. The approval of the minutes of the May 8th, 2019 Benefits and Services Committee meeting, open session. Approval of the,
Move approval. Second.
it's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Oh, I guess I should ask for abstentions. Okay. It's been moved and seconded. It's been approved. Okay, so the information items that we have today, our agenda is pretty small, but very important. Okay, so for dues and insurance deductions, go ahead, Diane. Thank you.
Good morning, committee members. I am Diane Alsa, the Service Retirement Director, and with me this morning I have Rick Bartos, who is the manager who directly oversees the dues and insurance deduction program. Today is an information item, and we'll be presenting updates that we have to the dues and insurance deduction program. All right. So we'll cover a little bit of information and background about the program itself. We'll talk a little bit about participation in the program. We'll go over what the costs of the program are and a little bit about some of the stakeholder outreach that we've already done. So the program started in 1978. So the TRL 24608 authorized the deductions from benefit recipient allowances. And it also gave the board the authority to determine the cost of the program to be charged to the third-party organizations who participate. When the program started, the service charges were initially set at 3 cents for dues and 6 cents for insurance. And then in 1990, the rate was increased by a penny to 4 cents and 7 cents, which is what the rates currently are today. Per the board policy manual, the CEO has the authority and responsibility to administer the program, so that's why today's item is an information item only. And I'll go into a little bit about the program. So the program includes 7 deduction types, and the next slide will actually show you what the deduction types are. We have 85 active third-party organizations who participate in the program today, and just over 64,000 participating members. Third-party organizations that have the higher volumes are up there included CRTA, PERS for Health, San Francisco Health Service System, and PERS Long-Term Care. So here are the 7 deduction types, primarily insurance. It also shows you here that the number of third-party organizations that have those deduction types and the percentage of the total of transactions for those deduction types. And you can see here that the health insurance and the association dues make up about 85% of the transaction total. So the annual cost of the program. So direct costs for the program, which is direct staff support, as well as OE&E, so operating expense and equipment, come out to about $114,000. Indirect costs, which include administrative support, for example, facilities, human resources, as well as, let me think, legal support. I think all of our support, technology services would be a big one here as well. So indirect costs for this program are at $131,000. So the service charge today of 4 7 cents recovers approximately $51,000 a year. So as you can see, we're operating in a deficit. What we plan to do is increase the service charges for dues to 8 cents and insurance to 16 cents. And what that's going to cover is 100% recovery of the direct costs and 10% of the indirect costs. Due to the size of the program, we went with a lower indirect cost model. For stakeholder outreach, we did reach out to the larger third-party organizations, since they will be the ones receiving the brunt of the increase. So included, we have listed here CRTA, CTA, NEA retired, CalPERS, and we've also attended some constituent meetings to share some of the information about the program and what we're looking to do. So more formal communications will begin early next year. We are anticipating January, and we anticipate giving ample notification and period of time for the third-party organizations to review the changes. So next steps, concurrent to going out in establishing the increased service fee, we're also going to be implementing a more comprehensive terms of service agreement. Today, we have a pretty informal form in place, and so we did work with our legal services division, who worked with us on a more formal agreement that includes CalSTR's liability language in there. So it's just more formal and more protection for us. As well as informing them of the per service line increase. As I mentioned a minute ago, we'll start the communications in January, give them time to review the service agreements as well as the service charge increase. We'll work with them on if they need extension for review periods, but we do plan to implement around July 2020, so the fiscal year. So with that, are there any questions?
I don't see anybody in the queue. Okay. Let's see. Oh, one of the things that I wanted to ask was the TPO organizations, and I think I asked it earlier, that how are they with the cost? Have you received any feedback or input from them, or
Yeah, so
how is it
I
going to
think
affect their charges
Right.
to the actual organizations?
Right. So initially, when communications were happening, at that time, we were looking at a different, we were looking at including the total indirect cost. So we were looking at a much higher increase at the time. So when we came back and we were closer to what we were landing on, I think they were okay with what the rate increase was. We haven't received a lot of pushback at all. So I don't anticipate that that's going to be a problem.
Okay, all right. Anybody else on the committee? No? Okay, all right, thank you
Thank
very
you.
much. Are there any members of the public who wish to speak on this item? No? Okay. So the next item is reviewing our committee charter. So the rules that we're supposed to be operating by. Cassandra?
Thank you, Chair Yamamoto. I'm Cassandra Licknock, the Chief Operating Officer at CalSTRS, and I am filling in for the vacancy of our Benefits and Services Executive Officer, and that's why I'm presenting this. The charter is provides the guidelines on how the board or the committee governs the Benefits and Services Committee. And periodically, the charter is reviewed for any changes, and that's why it's been added to the agenda item this meeting. The committee is asked that you review the charter and provide any input on if you feel there are any changes that are necessary to the charter to better align what your goals and objectives are for the Benefits and Services Committee meetings. The last time the charter was reviewed was in 2017, so it has been 2 years, and it's timely that it gets reviewed again. So with that, I would just ask for any input from any of the committee members to include in an update that we can bring back for adoption.
Okay. Anybody in the queue? The only thing I wanted, oh,
It's okay, go ahead.
you can go ahead.
Um,
Ms. Dillon.
let me get to the heart. So on,
When we, under the authority on number 1, we talk about, if necessary, form task forces with representation from affected stakeholders. I'd like to add the word constituent groups or constituents. I think that the term stakeholders is absolutely fine, but that's a broader group than, say, just our constituencies, the organizations that represent the members of the system. Stakeholders could be as broad as the legislature, business officers from districts and things like that. And I think there would be times of having some sort of group with a broader group is appropriate. But I think what we have a tendency to deal with on a more regular basis is our constituency groups. So if we could add that terminology to the charter, I'd appreciate it.
So you mean stakeholders and constituents?
Or from affected constituents, constituent groups or constituencies and stakeholders.
Okay.
Whatever's most appropriate grammatically. And I haven't come back to school yet this year, so you know, it's like I'm not on top of that yet.
All right.
Cassandra, I'm sorry.
Any comments on that, Brian?
I might have been there in body, but
You'll work
Not
with
mine
the
yet.
proper language?
yeah,
Okay.
thanks.
Anything else? The only, oh, Sharon.
Sorry, Karen. I was just wondering, did we already talk about this? I can't remember at the last meeting when we decided to make it a committee of the whole.
No, and
Just
that
the
was one of the things that I
composition
wanted to
piece.
make sure that we added that
Yeah.
also.
Because it says right now, under composition, the committee shall be composed of a minimum of 3 members, which,
Right.
I mean, a committee of the whole is, there's a minimum
Yeah.
of 3, but do we want to change that language to be more
Yeah, I think
descriptive
that
of?
Karen had brought that up as well, and she had suggested that we mirror what the investment committee composition structure says in their charter, which notates that the committee shall be composed of all board members. And then we would just follow on with that second paragraph about the proficiency of the system.
Okay, was that be okay?
Yep.
All right. And then I just also wanted to bring attention to the responsibilities of the committee. And I like number 3. I like all of them, but number 3 kind of gave me attention to making on-site visits to our member service centers and call centers, just to kind of know that what's going on out in the field, so we can have a better appreciation for how we serve our constituents and our members. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Okay. Clear queue. All right, so I guess we're okay? Yeah. All right. So since it's an action item, What's the pleasure of the committee?
move approval?
I move approval.
Second.
Okay, moved by Mr. Prezant, seconded by Dana. Did I do that right? Oh, it's consent, so we don't really need to.
What were you on?
I'm sorry,
Are
you
you on
don't
the
need to
charter
vote
still?
on it, right?
Well, the charter, unless you moved on to something, the charter
Okay.
was an information item, and we can come back with the edits, or I think we could probably adopt them with the edits.
If you vote to,
Can we adopt it as revised today?
yes.
Okay,
I move to adopt the charter as amended by the amendment proposed today. Amendments.
Second.
okay. So again, Mr. Prezant first, moved. Ms. Dillon second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, it's been passed. Thank you. Okay. Any members of the public who wish to speak on item? Okay. All right. We're moving along here. Okay. All right, so the next item is our executive officers report.
And I don't have anything to report.
Okay, thank you. It's just that it's still in search of, right?
We're still
All
in
right,
search
good.
of.
Okay. And then let's look at the draft agenda for the next meeting. That's going to be held November 2019. If everybody has a chance to look at the proposed agenda. This is a quiet group today. I know. Okay, all right. So, any members of the public who wish to speak on this item? Nothing? Okay, so I guess we'll go with this draft agenda item.
Karen, we do have an addition that we're going to
Okay.
have on the Benefits and Services Committee next time, and we're going to have our Director of Communications come and do a presentation on the communication strategies and benefits and services. So we added it, it didn't get on this draft agenda, but we will be adding that.
Communications Director,
Yes,
and it'll be an information item?
yes.
Okay, great. Okay. Any comments on that? Any statements? Okay, so this finishes our agenda. So are there any members of the public who wish to speak? No? I'm giving you 10 minutes. Okay, all right. So,
They're going to allocate it to the next committee.
okay, all right. With that being said, I guess no other items being discussed? We're adjourned. Thank you. And then just for purposes of the rest of the day, Mr. Keeley, good morning. All right, when would you like investments to begin?
9:45.
9:45? Will that work? Great. Okay, great. All right, thank you.